At the heart of hobby game dev is the game jam. For a while now, I've been intrigued by them, but I've never had the nerve to try one. I've been using the Godot engine for about 6 months now, with a few small projects under my belt. So I figured a game jam would be a good way to put my skills to the test. When I came across a game jam from the YouTuber Brackeys, I decided it might be worth giving it a go. I watched a couple of Game Jam 101 videos to prepare, so all I needed to do was wait until 10 p.m. on Sunday to find out what the theme was going to be. The Jam's theme? Nothing can go wrong. After finding out, I went to sleep hoping my subconscious would come up with something. I woke up with zero ideas. After starting the morning watching the Liverpool match, I used the commute to work to come up with anything I could use. I settled on three possible options. Option 1, a heist game where, if you are spotted, you lose instantly. Option 2, a tower defense game where killing the enemies makes the squares they die on unusable. Option 3, a delivery game where obstacles and other drivers try to damage your car and prevent you from getting to your goal. In trying to flesh out these ideas, I quickly realized that the heist game was doable, so I started looking for graphics I could use. I wrote a quick spec for the game, searched around for good tools online to make the blueprint, and took the first steps to start the project. The day ended with the Godot equivalent of a Hello World project. It was another day of work at the office, so I could only work on the gem a little in the morning and in the evening. I scrapped what little level design I had done on the first night when I realized I was using the tile set all wrong. I tried and failed to find better pixel art, so I settled on what I already had. I changed the player animation to something a little more spy-like, animated the movement, and set a starting point for the player in code. This was the first day in the jam I worked from home, so I was able to put a bit of extra work in the times I would normally be commuting or having lunch. This day was a lot of effort without much to show for it. I wrote 100 lines of code for the guard and set up a terminal with a trigger to open doors. But I kicked the can that is level design down the road and realized that I'm going to be lucky to have anything to show for myself come jam's end. After the Liverpool match, the day started with a mini crisis when I realized I did not have the rights for the assets I had previously purchased because I can only use them inside RPG Maker. So I had to scramble to find a new guard. As luck would have it, I found a mech unit that would fit the theme far better than any human character. This day was make or break because if I didn't get the torchlight working, I wouldn't have a game. While I couldn't use Light 2D because it's not compatible with Godot's web build, I was able to simulate a light with a complex polygon using ray tracing and collision detection. I was behind where I wanted to be by this stage, but I thought I had enough to make a game with. No matter what, I had to get the first level finished today, so I stopped kicking the design can and expanded out what I had. The level didn't pose a challenge, but the pre-jam advice I found said to keep things easy so players don't get too frustrated. I wired in the game over mechanic with a lose screen, and with that, I had a platform to build on over the weekend. 2 days to go and 2 levels to make. For the second level, I knew I wanted to have guards patrol randomly, which meant setting up a pathfinding grid. It also meant duplicating the guard movement logic depending on whether they are patrolling or following a path. Setting up the A-star grid went smoothly, and I had 3 guards randomly running between the desks, with the idea being the player would need to hide when the guards were coming. The problem with this was that the field of view was too small, and 3 guards was one too many to hide from. I upped the screen resolution to make a larger field of view, slowed down the robots by 10%, and removed one of the guards. It still felt like a matter of luck, but at least it provided something of a challenge. I tacked on one final guard in an open area, which turned out not to be as much of a challenge as I had hoped, and finally closed the game loop. It was one level smaller than I had hoped, but I had a playable game that just needed some polish. While I thought the game was one level too short, I had no new ideas and figured my time would be best spent polishing. I quickly cobbled together a menu, which caused a game-breaking scene transition bug between level 1 and 2 I had to deal with. Then I added the music and created some sounds out of a cyberpunk sound pack. The only challenge that remained was how to package and upload it to itch.io. After a few tries, the game was submitted and I spent the evening relaxing. Now that the game was done, there was nothing left to do but hope at least some of the other 2,236 submitters would play my game and give me some feedback. I was really happy with the quality and amount of constructive criticism. The feedback I did get was really good, with many suggestions for improvement. In terms of game jams, I know now that I need to name my game something unique. I also need to put some effort into the cover art to make playing the game enticing to others. As for the game itself, I don't think I had a playable slice early enough. I didn't get anyone to do playtesting, which would have been invaluable in terms of design and execution. Early on, I worried too much about the presentation, and that should have come later in the process. One more level would have been good, but the three mechanisms I had thought of on day one compressed into the two levels I had already made, and I couldn't think of something else. The result of all my efforts? 554th overall, which exceeded my expectations, especially given where I was on Thursday. The poor graphics and lack of innovation hurt my overall score, but it also identified two areas I need to improve upon in the future. 1 week is not a lot of time, especially when managing the game jam around a full-time job and something resembling a life. Even with the pressure of creating assets off the table, finding suitable assets and then working with them is still time-consuming. At no point in the process did I feel like I was abandoning my original vision, but I can see how different my final product was to what I had in mind on the first day. I don't see that as a problem, as my design stemmed from coming up with solutions as I needed them, but it is a good lesson in how much planning ahead can achieve. Where I need to improve in the future: 1. Come up with a more novel idea to build a game around. 2. Work out how to add more variety to the gameplay, and thus be able to make it a longer experience. 3. Practice working with graphics, art, shaders, UI, etc., and not to rely on there being enough Creative Commons art to mash together. 4. Get a vertical slice done early so that I have the ability to work on making it longer in the final days. 5. Market the game better. Use a unique name and eye-catching cover art. And 6. Add little bits of polish like a story and intro cutscenes if possible. Overall, the game jam was a good experience, both in terms of putting into practice what I've been learning and as a motivation to push myself to a tight deadline. I'll be happy to do game jams again in the future, though I need to put some effort into those areas of improvement first.